Reedy Creek is a politician's dream. There are only 37 voters, handpicked by Disney to live in trailer homes on Disney property. In 23 years, there hasn't been a single contested vote. Paul Pickett was chairman of the Orange County Commission when the legislature passed the Disney law. You were one of the very few officials here in Florida who opposed giving Disney its own government. Why?
Well, because nobody should have that kind of power unless you're a government. I would love to have that kind of power for either one of my companies. Anybody would. And no private money-making business should have government powers.
But Tom Moses, the man in charge of the Disney government, insists the Disney company has no special influence.
We respond to them just as any local government would respond to the taxpayers in any city or county in the area.
You view yourself as an independent government?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moses, the Reedy Creek Improvement District law was written in large part by Disney lawyers. Your Board of Supervisors is elected primarily by Disney. Your taxes are overwhelmingly paid by Disney. I mean, aren't you in effect working for Disney?
I don't think so.
How can they say that? As an elected official in any other municipality knows very well you have to make decisions that are sometimes unpopular with your constituents. I'm sure that they never do.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. And they do not make decisions that are adverse to Disney's interest.
Disney critics point to the competition over studio theme parks. Universal Studios is finally set to open its new Florida attraction after years of local and regional government review. But Disney's competing MGM studio attraction opened a year ago and took a year less to build. That project was reviewed by the Disney government, by people like Cookie Miller.
I was the only plumbing inspector on all of Disney property.
One plumbing inspector for all of Disney?
That is correct. Theme park, MGM, under construction, the Dolphin and the Swan hotels, the beach resort, the Caribbean.
One man?
One man.
It's widely acknowledged Walt Disney World has an excellent safety record. Its buildings are structurally sound. But when the Disney company has a construction deadline, the Disney government is not always allowed to stand in the way. Cookie Miller, who retired last summer after 10 years at Reedy Creek, says sometimes that means bending the rules. Was there building done at Disney without permits?
Portions of buildings.
Construction without full blueprints?
Yes.
Is that the way it's supposed to be?
Well, if you go by the book, there should have been a red tag put on it and no construction done.
Sometimes we did it right, sometimes we missed it a little bit.
Ray Boland was a field engineer on major construction projects at Disney, who was forced out in a personnel dispute.
Some of the things, yes, you did make them up as you went along. Otherwise, it wouldn't have proceeded. It would have never been done on schedule.
I would respond by saying that I can't see any evidence where we have done anything wrong that's affected the overall construction of Walt Disney World. We design, engineer, build, and operate and maintain with great quality. And I'll let the record speak for itself.
Oh, happiness is blooming all around us.
Despite the extraordinary government power, there's one thing Disney still hasn't built here. The one thing that got Disney its own government in the first place. The company used the name Epcot for another tourist theme park, but they never used Walt Disney's idea. Mr. Nunis, it's been 20 years. There's still no city here.
Well, isn't there a city here? I mean, in a way, if you think about it, tourists are real people. And every night on the Walt Disney World property, we have 40 to 50,000 guests staying on our property.
In Disney World, about 20,000 people will actually live in Epcot.
But Mr. Nunis, this is not an experimental city.
Well, Chris, you tell me, what is an experimental city?
Beyond the Greenbelt are Epcot's neighborhood areas of single-family homes. This is one radial neighborhood.
I got to tell you, I think anyone who looks at that film of Walt Disney back in the mid-'60s knows that he had something else in mind.
Well, and we're not finished yet. We still have another 25-year dream that we just announced.
Disney is planning another huge development, covering 4,000 acres and including homes and apartments. But as soon as it's built, Disney says the project will be incorporated into a neighboring county. All those voters removed from the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Disney's government still won't have to trouble itself with real citizens. People we talk to say Disney has changed. that it has become just another big company that's motivated by the bottom line?
Well, of course, I don't believe that. The thing that has changed, we are bigger, and we're growing. But still, tell me what company has done more to create a lot of happiness for people of all ages?
I think it's more toward the profit motive now than Walt Disney ever envisioned. I think he would be very upset that his dream has not been developed. He wanted to really contribute something to mankind.
Well, we're convinced we must start with the public need.
They're not doing that. They are purely and simply a profit-making machine. That's it.
Chris Wallace. A few footnotes. After all its problems, Disney has now appointed a vice president of environmental policy. As for those tax-free bonds, Disney has first shot at more if they become available this summer. And despite objections from surrounding communities, Disney has declined so far to step aside. Also, Disney has announced plans to build another new theme park in Southern California, not far from the original Disneyland. And two communities are vying for it, Anaheim and Long Beach. We'll be back with more of Prime Time in a moment.
Coming up,